So this is a talking to horses short where I'm asking a question that I don't have an answer for because I'm not a physicist. And I'm hoping, excuse me, I'm hoping that this video will reach a physicist and they can answer this for me. Hint, hint, Dr. Joe Geraci. Okay, so Dr. Joseph Geraci is a gentleman I met some time ago, and he recently wrote a paper on something that he calls dynamic foam packets. And this is a way to look at the quantum scale. And remember, this is my interpretation of this because I'm a layperson and don't have any physics background or any real knowledge of physics. But what I understand from the paper is that this hypothesis is something like the quantum packets or the pixels of the universe always have the same amount of information in them. However, they can stretch and become larger, or they can be compressed and they can become smaller depending on their location. So in the paper it talks, if the quantum bits are near something like a black hole or they're within a black hole, then obviously they would be getting compressed more and more as they get closer to the singularity, so that the amount of information remains the same within the bit or the pixel, or in this case, the dynamic foam packet. But the volume of the packet is changed. It's compressed so that there's more information in a smaller space. Or in the case of regions of space where there is no gravity or an attracting mass, like a planet or a galaxy, then the volume of these packets is stretched, and then they can create a repulsive force, which they, in this hypothesis, leads to something like what they call dark energy. So I was trying to think about this in my own way. And then last night when I couldn't sleep, I was laying on the couch and I had this little thought experiment, and I cannot figure it out because I don't have the knowledge. And that's why I'm hoping a physicist will find this somehow and respond to me and tell me what the answer is. So this was the thought experiment that I was trying to do in my head to wrap my mind around the bits of information that make up the universe, the either at the quantum scale or even smaller at the sub-Planck scale, things that get smaller and smaller and smaller, more and more dense, but still have information in them. Sort of like as you approach the singularity in a black hole, things are getting more and more compressed because of the and I'm using my own terms here, because of the strength or because of the mass or the density. When you reach this ultra powerful, ultra dense region of space, the thought experiment came to me like this. So imagine I'm a cosmic fisherman and I go fishing in black holes, and I have a very special fishing rod with a very special fishing line and a lure. And what I do as a cosmic fisherman is I cast from well outside the event horizon, where the gravity of the black hole's region of space is not affecting me, but I can still reach it with this imaginary fishing rod and fishing line. So imagine I'm able to cast my fishing rod and the lure with this unbreakable, yet still made of the things that we're made out of. This fishing line with lure is cast into the black hole. The lure attached to the line is powerful enough that it doesn't just get thrown out because of the energy of the vortex that is surrounding the black hole. It actually gets drawn in. What happens to the fishing line, and what is my observation of what is happening to the fishing line? So do I observe at some point as I'm watching this happen, do I observe the lure with the fishing line disappear? And at that moment, does all of the fishing line that's on my reel get spooled off at some faster than light speed, because even light can't escape a black hole, so that the speed of light isn't even fast enough to escape. And remember, I'm using my own language here. I don't have the technical terms for this. That's option one. Do I watch the lure and the fishing line at some point when it crosses over the event horizon disappear, and then immediately upon that happening, does my fishing line all get spooled away immediately? Number two, and this is something that I've heard, and I'm not certain how true it is or if I'll be able to explain it properly. As my observation of this is going, and I cast the lure with the fishing line to the black hole, does it end up looking like it's frozen in space and time forever, and nothing happens at my end because of the effects of the black hole on an observer outside of the region of space at the event horizon that are not being affected by that gravitational and energetic force? And then I'm not sure if there's a third option. And so, like, when I was thinking of it in my head, what I was thinking is that when you get to a certain point around the black hole where you're getting sucked in, and obviously it would have to be a really massive black hole, I think, for this thought experiment to work, because, well, that raises another question altogether. So I'll just use black hole because I'm not smart enough to understand. I've heard that it would appear to the thing being sucked into the black hole, like, imagine if you fell into a black hole as a person, the first thing that enters the region of space that is that where light can't escape would start to draw you out, almost like if you had a piece of pretty hard caramel and you pull on it. What you find is it gets drawn out, and it gets drawn out faster, and you see a sort of like a thinning where the one piece is drawing away from it, but the piece you're holding in your hand remains solid and in its original size. Would that be what is happening to the fishing lure and the fishing line? And my observation is that I would never see it actually come to where it spools off all of the rest of the line. Or, given enough time, would it eventually catch up to the rest of the fishing line and draw it all off the spool into the black hole? Sort of like this idea, like when you fall into a black hole, that if it was your feet, if you were feet first, it would be your feet first that were pulled in, and it would be stretched like a piece of caramel, so that your feet became much farther away from you than your head, for example. And then I've heard if the black hole is massive enough, then maybe you wouldn't, I mean, you'd be dead, but if you were thinking about information, the information itself wouldn't know the difference, that it would all happen so quickly and so rapidly that you wouldn't notice the stretching at the beginning of the information packet or the beginning of the object being pulled in, that it would all enter so quickly that it would appear as though it had just gone across a invisible border with no change in its perception of the inside of the black hole. And so that's my question. If you're a cosmic fisherman and you fish in black holes, what would your observation of the fishing line appear to be if you cast a lure into the black hole? Would it appear like it gets caught like a piece of information on the surface of the black hole in the event horizon, never moving? Or would it eventually pass over into the black hole itself, drawing immediately all of the spool of line off of your fishing line? Or would it be a gradual process of it catching up, whereby it eventually swallowed enough of the information, being the fishing lure and the fishing line attached to the lure, that it would eventually spool out your fishing line? If that makes any sense at all. Thank you.